What's going on, traders? Yeah, I just want to get on here and big thanks for joining me for the start of New York here. It's 9:25. We got the pound dropping finally, like a really trending, obvious thing going on. And I'm already kind of in on the action early on the top of the pyramid here. At the moment, let's see kind of what's going on. I think I'm gonna go ahead and continue to hold this. Not really liking that this this landing here is slightly above this this little lower level here, but it could continue to drop and blast through. Let me kind of set up this thing on the bigger time scale, just the 15-minute. So I ended up, ending the stream after a bunch of revenge trading and just having a really shitty time. Putting some sells, and just going, fuck it and leaving. Well, about that same time is caught this big drop. I doubled down on it, ended up bringing a lot of the account equity back, a little bit better than how it's been. Switching my trading strategy up a little bit. I've been kind of going over my trading and seeing what am I doing that's retarded, that's not working, that is working. And one of the things I've been doing is over trading, and I realized it more so on this level because I've still been using about the entirety of this $800 and something account to trade with. So it's like my position sizes are like 1,300, mainly because I've just been using the same kind of ratios, and just scaling the strategy. And so to scale the strategy and just a little bit beefier numbers, it's going all in, no stop losses at the moment, and just letting it kind of run. And it seems to be working out a lot better as far as keeping profits, because one of the things I've been able to do well on some level, I'm going to get out of this trade because that's starting to come back around. One of the things I've been able to do somewhat well is have an idea, of where the direction's going, but one of the areas I've been doing kind of shitty is just holding profits and trying to compound the shit too much. So for example, like if you look at this over here. So for example, it's like, okay, pretty obvious short-term little uptrend. Well, what I was kind of falling into is like riding the wave up and then trying to catch it on the way down, and then trying to catch it again and catch it again. Instead of just buying it and holding it, trying to compound it too much. And in that, when you have these large position size, I didn't realize it so much when I was using maybe like a 5K position size, but the more, it's almost 9:32. I'm going to see what this does, because there's a Fibonacci level right there. It might go up to, and there's also this resistance. But so what I'm going to do now, moving forward, outside of this scalping session of New York, just buy and then just hold this position and just continue to hold it longer and longer. It's not as sexy, as like I think that's getting ready to drop again. I'll wait till New York bell goes off, because it could have an influence on it. I'm going to actually, too, before being balls deep in the market here, see if there's any news events going on. USD at 10 o'clock. Preliminary UOM consumer sentiment. Not sure what the hell that is, but 10 o'clock, so 30 minutes till that takes effect. 9:30 is kicking off now, so let's do a little bit higher altitude view here. So basically with this big, what triggered this sell-off was a news event. Not exactly sure what the news event was, but you can see that that first candlestick here just really took a shit and it just never recovered. This got into Asian session. There was a little bit of a bull trap going on during Asian session, and then kind of got to a crescendo at the start of London session, and it's been somewhat tanking ever since. You know, it's been decline, bull trap, decline. We'll see now that New York session has started. Let's see what the 4-hour looks like. Bearish. So we'll be looking for sells today. Kind of waiting to see. It's at that zone now. The top of this fib has been used as support, but this whole zone is questionable. We'll see if it has any momentum as it's building up on this candlestick on this 1 minute chart. Or no, I'm in the 5 minute. I'm gonna get to the 1 minute, get more of a ninja idea of what's going on. I'm gonna actually put the sell in now. And we'll just test the water a little bit. Hopefully I get a good spot on the top of the hill. Starting to get pretty colorful. A bunch of lines. Hopefully that's not too distracting. Try to be mindful of people watching, that it's visually appealing. Now that we got our position, it doesn't look like that's got much steam to the upside, but you never know. Looks like it's starting to peter out. Trying to get more in alignment with other, you know, just like the mindset of other traders. You know, it's like it feels like there's so much disharmony in trading, and it's like, you know, you just want to be with just the trend and what the I won't say the group think, but you know, it's just like trying to become more and more in alignment. Almost like if you were playing music. Maybe the easiest way to think of it is like if you're playing music, you just want to play in the band together, and not have like one guy playing, you know, some random jazz horse shit, and then somebody else like trying to play some, you know, some polka and just rock music or just whatever. It's like, you know, why is everybody playing different shit here? It's like, let's try to, isn't everybody trying to like make money? Well, if everybody's acting chaotically, then nobody's making anything because it's just rolling sideways and there's indecision. And with like indecision, it's like the only person's winning is these brokers getting commissions every time you're going back and forth, which is something I picked up on yesterday. I had these full position sizes, and I was like starting to get into that nitpicky shit again of like over trading, and just going back and forth. And at 13K position, I think that's $1.30 to 260 this round trip. Even if that's at nothing, you know, you lost 260. And I'm trying to keep the account as like a scale model of like $1,000 account. And so in doing that, well, 250, I mean, it's these little micro cuts when you're going back and forth. So if you are in a trade, get out of it real quick, in trade and get out of it real quick. all of a sudden it's like I just lost like almost like 0.5% of the account, and just this indecisiveness. This breaks that fib. I'm gonna wait for that to have a pullback. Even now, I don't even think it's going to continue to go up. I might hold it for even, continue to hold it a little bit longer. Unless it's like more of a decisive loss. You wouldn't think that the New York crowd would look at this this big downtrend here and be like, oh, today I want to try to take a long. But you never know. It's, you know, you got kind of this bottom that's sitting on right now. On the 1 hour, looks like it hit it and then bounced up, but didn't bounce up nearly as high as this other one. Starting to turn around on us a little bit. It's getting a little squirrely. Let's jump in the chat, see what's going on with everybody. See if anybody's in here yet. Doesn't look like it. But whenever you're in here, it's now. So, you know, catching the stream whenever. I appreciate you being here. Hopefully your day is going super prosperous and, you know, abundantly in all things, and, you know, you're not spiraling into despair and frustration and fear and anger and all these low level emotions. I know if you spend any time on Twitter the past week or so, a lot of low level kind of bullshit going on. Like, Mike, aren't you? Why are you not so hysterical too? You know, there's violence and shit, and it's like, I'm so desensitized to all this kind of shit that and I don't trust anything I'm seeing because of the track record of deception. To me, it's like, it wouldn't be hard to fake a lot of shit to play on people's emotions, especially with how easily people lose their minds and stop thinking straight. Looks like this thing's starting to get to a mountaintop. You know, not to say that there aren't horrible things, but I mean, there's horrible things happening in like major cities all the time. People getting murdered and raped and killed constantly. You don't destroy and just carpet bomb neighborhoods to get the bad man. You know, that's insane. I had a weird kind of thing the other day. You know, it's like trying to get more and more less emotional myself when it comes to like trading, and like just like, oh, there's a good opportunity, let's jump on it. Well, you know, it was just put this trade in. You know, that one that was up here, I left, and I was just like, fuck it, we'll just let it run. I don't care if I lose like $30 or $40. I just stopped caring if I lost money. Well, then I almost like simultaneously. I don't like what this is doing. This is retarded. Again, a classic example. Better to kind of wait. You know, this is kind of kind of ranging. It had a little bit of a push. That could have been a liquidity grab. It wasn't higher. Than that level. It's like, why on earth would you want to take a buy right now? Is it just because the price is kind of down here? I mean, I don't understand the thoughts here. You know, especially when you have all of this track record here of downtrend, slight bursts of uptrend. Is it the thought that oh, it's getting down here and maybe it'll take off again? I mean, that's the thought that normally costs me money, is like, oh, it's finally changing directions, or it's changing the direction entirely. I need to get in on it. It's like, a lot of times it doesn't change directions all that dramatically. At least the pound, you know, maybe some other currency pairs do. Looks like now finally caught that change in direction here. Yeah, so it's like, it doesn't change often. I mean, it does, but these dramatically changing and then having a big breakout, I think, is the temptation. Yeah, but this fib tool is basically used here at this bottom. Once that kind of rested, now it's sitting below that previous bottom, which started earlier this morning. Actually, the low appears to have happened about 7 o'clock, and then bounce, which is typical. Once a new low has been breached, then a lot of times it'll shoot up in the opposite direction. It's like characteristic of a bull trap. But it's almost pretty repeatable as far as like a strategy goes. Because if you catch the falling knife like right as it's fucking at its worst possible moment, there's two things that can happen. One is the hysteria continues and the bottom continues to fall out, or you catch it right there, and then you're in a great position for the typical bull trap, which as soon as that reaches its crescendo, you can just get out of it and sell. And I don't know. So that's kind of like something I'm thinking about, because then you also aren't risking that much because you're already at the lowest spot possible. So if it continues to blast through, yeah, you might. Problem is, you might get a big burst to the downside still. But even then, if you hold it, you'll probably get your money back on the inevitable bull trap that will form after that new low has been breached. So like this, we got a little bit of wiggle room before that goes, just in this wick. But it wouldn't surprise me, you get a pretty big engulfing bearish candle breaking this. It wouldn't then shock me, if it continues to get another push to the upside temporarily. And that's the shit that would fuck me over, is then I'd do these micro moves and try to compound the account too much. I really kind of vibe with a lot of metaphysical, spiritual things, and like with that, one of the key things is to live in the end, and so if you're like in this mode of like, I need to constantly compound and get rich or whatever, then you're not being in abundance, you're being in a form of scarcity mindedness. And so that's something I catch myself doing, because I don't find that to be helpful, to be in scarcity. I find it actually to be kind of a failing thing. So it looks like on this chart that wick is beneath that low, which is good news for people in a short position. You get this inevitable, broke that low, quick shot to the upside. This happens on every single time scale. To various degrees. It depends, if it just depends on the crowd that day, really. That's one of the things I keep trying to do as I'm trading, is just like, what is the crowd, how is the crowd thinking? I had people in the chat yesterday, some were just like, it's an obvious sell. Oh, others are just like, it's an obvious buy. It's like, okay, why do you think what you think, both of you? I'm not saying either one of you is right or wrong, because I'm just more curious why each person is seeing this with a different perception. And it could be something as crazy as like Yanny and Laurel type stuff, where there's an objective type of reality going on, but then you have half the people hearing Yanny and the other half of people hearing Laurel for some reason. And like or the green dress, these are all internet phenomenon type things that got popular, but like they had that green dress or whatever color, like half people saw it as like green and white or something, and the other one seen it as purple and teal or something. I can't remember the exact color scheme, but that was like kind of a viral thing. And it makes me wonder if the stocks, and just looking at Forex charts and everything, if half the people are seeing shit that's not what the other half are seeing. I was looking at this the other day because I don't really have a bias, and as far as like, I don't care if it's bearish or bullish. It makes no difference to me. I mean, I kind of look at this as a game anyway. So it's like, instead of this being the pound dollar, I mean, it could be Camel Cash and Skittles, as far as banana peels or something. It's like, it doesn't really matter to me what this represents. It's like, it could represent anything. But like, I'm more of like, if I can predict it, then I'll do it. One day I'll be bearish, one day I'll be bullish. It doesn't really matter. But I'm curious then with other people, where it's just like, how are you looking at this? Because are you looking at the tops of these things? Are you looking at the bottom? How are you viewing this? Because I was kind of like viewing these charts the other day, and it's like, if I was viewing this as a seller, would this be a good time to put a sell in? It's like, no. If I was like viewing this as a buyer right now, it's like, is this a good time to put a buy in? No, I don't think so. It's like a new low, barely. It's barely a new low, but it still is. And there's very little wiggle room for once those things, even on a micro level, get breached, probability wise, a lot of times it's a big sign. It's, at least for the next minute or two, probably still get some some bullish activity. And if it crosses certain thresholds, it appears, then a hysteria happens that kind of pushes things in a different direction. But it almost just doesn't even seem possible that this is entirely just people doing this. Mainly because of how precise, and it maybe is people doing it, and people are just collectively, it just looks like that, like bees bees in a hive, just making these things, like unaware of like how geometrically perfect they're doing it. And then you have this example where we have a new low followed by a new high. A very ominous sign that we're in a sideways range that that just needs to be real hands off at the moment. We got bearish drop. A lot of times after a big drop, and by a big drop, maybe we can qualify that by a big drop, meaning even on this micro level, a lot of times you'll get ranging after a big move. Just an indicator of indecision, but just from my experience now, which is limited experience, but how long can you lose shit for months and months before you have a little bit of just like, every time I do this, the couple hundred trades I put in, every time I do this particular formation, I lose money, pay a bunch of commissions going back and forth, and then ultimately get frustrated as it has a continuation to the downside or continues the trend that it was already in. It's 9:52. A lot of times New York has a big money shot move before launch between 9:30 and 11:30. A lot of like the pre-market kind of sets up for it. So it's like we got a little bit of a pre-market setup getting down to this low level, but we also are at the top of like a fib level where you have a little history to the left over here of a little micro resistance zone. You can almost look at support and resistance as faith indicators, whether or not you believe that it'll cross these. What's it going to do? What do you believe? What do you think this implies other traders believe about the market and the situation? Do they have faith that it's going to skyrocket past that zone, or does it seem questionable? A lot of times I've been looking at just this money flow. It's like, who's putting this money actually into the market and why and for what purpose? And because there's not an unlimited supply of people that trade Forex. It's the same fucking people every day that's trading this shit. So, it's like, if it's the same people every day trading with new money coming in from just people that are just new to it. So it's like, okay, well, how is this money flowing? If you think of it like a Ponzi scheme or just like a casino, which is more and more so how I'm thinking of it, as like a type of casino. And if you're trying to align yourself with the house, which is actually like kind of having a strategy and implementing it and doing it over a series of many different days and trades, almost like a diet. You just consistently just make those moves that you probably should be doing. What makes me go then, okay, so if you only have one group of people and there is not this big adversary, but it's just people just betting against themselves and just going back and forth and shit, and that's just like an assumption. But if you were to believe that assumption, well, you have the people coming in from New York right here. So it was like, okay, is all the money from this spot right here gets fed through the casino, And if you like look at that as like kind of a flow of just money, accumulating, dwindling, accumulating, tanking, and think of it in terms of a Ponzi scheme of like, unless people add more money out of the group of traders that's here every single day. But even with that, it's only like one set of money, so it's like people are either putting buy orders in with their money or sell orders. So I don't know, I'm just trying to think about this in a business way. It's like, how does this flow? Why is this moving? And what's the factors involved in making this move? Yeah, there has to be some sort of pattern or order to it. I don't believe anything is truly chaotic, especially not something people are into. People like to have certainty, and people like to have patterns and routines and stick to winning strategies. So this guy's kind of ranging. Let's see if anybody's in here. A couple people dipped in. Appreciate you coming in. Hopefully this is somewhat entertaining today, as I'm doing kind of less hands-on trading, which I don't know. I think too much. I think about the entertainment factor just for people watching. It's like, would I just want to sit and watch somebody just do nothing? Maybe it's the commentary. Maybe it's just the hanging out and chit chat that's nice. I try not to lie and be full of shit, and so that could be refreshing, compared to a lot of the stuff going on in the world that seems like so inverted. I've been on the, I don't want to say the fences, but it's like been feeling like I've been off the crazy train for a long time. And so when I see a lot of this hysteria again, it's like 3 years of COVID, of every life is precious, to, let's genocide some kids. That sounds like a great idea. I mean, they kind of deserve it, right? It's like, what? It's like the shit that was parroted out of all these freaking brainwashed TV watching people, or whatever black screen people are just obsessed with. It's like, oh, you don't want to be a grandma killer. It's like you could be a carrier, and you don't even have symptoms, and it's like, how dare you try to live your life normally without suffocating yourself all day in a mask that doesn't work. And the thing about those masks is, like, from day one I knew that was such horseshit, because if you ever actually do shit with your hands and are using a face mask, you see how fucking flawed they are. It's like, if you ever sand drywall, for example, and you're dealing with a bunch of like powder from sanding drywall, and you're wearing a mask, it's going to seep around by your nose, and it's going to get into your nostrils. And by the time you're done, you'll have a little Hitler mustache with white shit all in your fucking in your nose, and even wearing a mask. Same thing if you use spray guns, like for painting. Yeah, there's so much, stuff that just gets around them. And the idea that you're going to keep out all these microscopic things is so ludicrous on its face. Well, Mike, an expert said so. And it's like, use your own common sense. Does that make sense? But most people would rather vacate their own common sense for some perceived external master. As in doing this, try to encourage people to develop their own intuition, because just because I may suck at learning this news thing, oh boy, oh shit, that was a news event. Landmine. Well, that worked out. Maybe that was what that indecision was. Yes, I'm on the live stream. Okay, hold on, I can take a coffee break. Well, looky here, that worked out, that our kind of oblivious nature here. But my wife needs me real quick. I'm going to play some music here. Probably make another cup of coffee. Keep an eye on this thing tanking like an awesome. Like, this is really good for our position. I will be actually. I'll just be. I need to kind of watch this and manage this. Let me just be right back. Hold on. Yeah, okay, sorry about that. Looks like that news event is getting a little bit of a bounce back, but I would expect that to just continue to fall. Typical pattern, you know, it's like it hits that low, blasts up. But considering it's already on kind of a downtrend, in a nice position to just kind of hold this for now. Hitting some big wins here towards the end of the week, which is nice because the first half of the week has been an embarrassment. Yeah, I don't know what that news actually was saying. I don't know if in general people know what these news events are really all about. It's weird that in a matter of seconds, you know, people have analyzed what's going on. It's like, oh, sell, you know. Every time I've ever fucked with the news, it was just been like, oh, let's gamble on it. Yeah, I feel like that's a big, you know, kick in the nuts though. Just this big news event, bearish candle. I think it'd probably be enough of a thing to where it breaks this indecision. You would think, you know, if the world was real. But in a lot of ways, it doesn't appear to be. It seems to be filled with illusions and deception. And that bounced back in a New York minute. And jump in chat, see what's going on with everybody. Appreciate y'all being here. Appreciate, you know, liking, sharing, subscribing, all that kind of fun stuff. Hopefully getting ready to witness a very nice sell position here. Got almost $800 and something on this position. I would expect that once this hysteria kind of wears down, which it looks like it's doing, all of this will start to fill in, and then continue then to the downside. That's my hypothesis, at least. Was a lot of buying pressure, but I would expect all that to fill in. It looks like it's doing that now. On the 15-minute, what's that look like? Big red 15-minute candle. That's good. Good for sellers, not so much for buyers, which are the same people. You'd think you would look at this and be like, oh, downtrend, sell. Maybe there's probably just me that thinks like that. It's like one of the things I gotta remind myself is, not everybody sees things the way I see things, or perceives things the way I perceive things. I get into that with like playing guitar at times. That's one of the reasons I don't teach guitar lessons, because it's like when you're really good at something and then you forget, how many years it took to get like good. And then when someone's just like learning, it's like, oh, are you retarded? Why you suck so bad at this? But that's like a phase everybody's got to go through, that sucking ass at something before you get good. Up to almost $17 in the P&L. On top of the mountain here. Instead of becoming hysterical and just closing this position right away, let this sit and run a little bit. The degenerate in me is like, oh, if you would have sold down here and waited and then got another position in, you could have double dipped. But we didn't do that, so yeah, take what we get. But almost good time to take a coffee break. I didn't have a chance in talking with my wife there to do that, and then I didn't have any music playing or anything. And I used to work in a radio station, and like and this was like a long time ago, probably 10 years, more than 10 years, no, way longer than 10 years. I was in high school. Shit was turning into a blur. But like we always used to get in trouble if you just let there be dead air, and it's like I've kind of still have that programming. It's like, oh shit, there's silence. I kind of like silence at times when I'm doing shit throughout the day, but most people can't stand being with themselves long enough to handle sitting in silence. It should be an indicator for some people that their mental game is shit if you can't sit in silence. A big part of trading is psychology. Your own psychology, and not becoming super attached and emotional to shit. I'm debating on whether or not to close out. I don't think that's going to go much of anything. I think we're getting ready to, it's 10 o'clock, set up for a big sell-off. Mainly because of that news event really breaking a lot of that indecision right there. But if you think in terms of like people that trade for a living, I've heard this from numerous sources that say you gotta that these guys have to wait 3 times for this confluence before they're able to take a trade with other people's money, which nothing wrong with that. Other than it's something to be mindful of. Like, you don't really miss out on a lot of things if you realize that there's another opportunity to get in on it. And there's always opportunity. That's the thing with this market. You know, it's like on the 1 minute chart. I mean, it's like, you know, now's a good time. Now's a good time. It's always a good time to get into it, but sometimes they're better than others. Let me get some music going out and get another cup of coffee while this thing's dawdling around. You know, for anybody new, you know, a lot of people are checking out the stream. It's new for them, but you know, I've been producing music independently for over a decade. I just put out a new guitar song, this Unchained Melody by the Righteous Brothers. A lot of that had to do with I like to do these play along guitar videos, and they just have like scrolling chords, and yeah, it's just like a fun song to play. It was just happened to play the other day as I was dicking around on the guitar, and thought, you know, that'd be a nice vibe to put out to the world. I got another song I'm going to put out today too. Is the Working Class Heroes, a Green Day song. It's not hard to play, but most songs are not all that hard to play. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to just find some good trading music. I don't think hip hop sounds like the answer at the moment. I try not to be too. Just use some instrumental background music. It won't take me long to make this coffee. A lot of, you know, some of these are just background music for TV shows and stuff, so it doesn't really make sense to play it now, but. Whatever, we'll just do this one for now. everybody. I'm back. Had a fresh cup of coffee. Hopefully our trade looks like it's kicking ass. That's great. Really bouncing back big time with the equity. It's down to almost $800 the other day. You know, it's just a matter of what's been going on since really yesterday. Right about now, for the past 24 hours, it's really been awesome trading for me. Maybe for other people, I mean, this big drop here, you know, for some people, could have been heartbreak. You know, that could have been fucking shitty if you had tons of lots in a buy. You know, thinking that was going to continue to go up. A lot of people probably lost their ass in this one, but you know, we're all giving the money back and forth to each other all day, every day. At this point, this looks like it's getting ready to continue to drop significantly because it's crossed that threshold here. So there's really nowhere else for this thing to go but down. You know, looks like this resistance zone down here, you have, I'll make this nice and I'm getting way too colorful, but horizontal line, you can see price got to this line, bounced. Price got to this point, bounced. Price got to this point, bounced. There's really nothing between here and this this zone that we're getting ready to drop into, which is pretty far down. You know, this could be a pretty significant trade. Hopefully getting our account back over $900. That'd be great. I know I keep wanting to run this account like a Ponzi, you know, in the sense that, oh, you know, when I run out of money, I'll just print up some more and put it in the account. But that's dumb money. You know, that's what dumb money has to do. Dumb money has to continuously create fictitious, you know, shit and add it to the pot here because of losing decisions. Yeah, really liking what's going on here on the 1 hour. This is one of my favorite setups to trade, is when you have this kind of a breakout type thing on a sell where there's no more resistance zones, there's no more support, and there's nowhere for it to go but just a streak down. This point here, where this jump break whatever is, that is the market open on Sunday. And so you can see the week has been kind of uptrend. For me, this has been losing money, and then and now we're sweeping through all of that. You know, from that point on, either Sunday or Monday morning, that's all gone, and now there's nowhere left for this to go but down to really this level. It could, you know, and it could, you know, now just all of a sudden change, but in probability land, it's kind of not so probable that would happen. It's much more probable that it'll come down to this level, which from there to the bottom of that guy is 47 pips. Decent little win. So I think I'm getting $1 or something per pip with this position sizing. Now I got to kind of look around the microphone. It's like the trade-off, you know, have the microphone not visible, you know, and having having it be visible, and then I have to not look around it. So, you know, I don't think that's a bit big of a deal for people. I'm on a little bit of a retracement now. which again is not unexpected. We're in a pretty much a start of a downtrend. That news event really broke free from that this indecision area, going back and forth, that sideways ranging. I always wonder, it's like, who is vehemently thinking that this is a buy right now? Is it just these people in these micro levels that are just trying to just get these quick moves? I've heard, of the algorithm trading or traders or whatever that are on these super tight time scales. But even now, who's adding money into the present moment? Or is it people that have like missed out on this news event, waited for it? People that are just only looking at like the 15-minute chart. The 15-minute looks obvious for a sell. $30 it's got a streak down. Doesn't look nearly as dramatic. That's another funny thing. If you spend a lot of times on these charts, it's like you sit here, especially if you're on the 1-minute chart, and you're just like having all these like narratives and stories of like, oh, now there's a upward movement, now there's all this drama, you're losing all this money or making all this money, and it's just these candlesticks, and then you just like zoom out to like this, and it's just the indifferent nature. It's like, who cares? It's like this marketplace, it doesn't care. It's just doing what it does. It just goes up and down and indifferently just does its thing. Doesn't give a shit. Meanwhile, people that are trading, it's just like I said, if you had a significant position like right here, where you have this break of structure then too on top of it, so you got this high, and then you got this break of structure, and then you have impulsive people. Like I could have been in this situation, getting impulsive, like, oh, it broke that high, didn't kind of let it play out, maybe get in on it like here, or you can't even see that, get in on it. Hopefully you can see that. I don't know if you can see that even easier. Maybe if I do white, get in on it in a position like in there, and then next thing you know, the bottom just falls out like that, and it's like, oh shit. We're up to about a 3% increase just on this trade, $30 on $1,000 account. Basically, it's actually more than that because it's less than $1,000 account, but like significant trade, $35. Again, it's kind of nowhere to go but this level down here, which might be $40-50 profit, 5%. Back up to cross the $900. I'm not sure how the rest of the trading day will go, but if it continues to trend so obviously as a selling position, I would expect it to range in this zone for it's 1030. Like, we're in excellent position to catch this big New York City money shot. We're already balls deep in it. We're sitting high on the pyramid. But I would assume if it hits that, it'll be probably in that resistance zone till after lunch. With it being Friday, market close, probably expect a lot of the back and forth to kind of settle down, get more of a stable downtrend, and ride that till, what does the market close today? 5 or 6. I don't like having money in it, so it's like once it gets to a bottom, even if that's at 4 o'clock and it hits a bottom, I'm just like, fuck, I just cash out and just let it be and call it a week. and hit it again. Not even Sunday when it opens back up, but let it play out at least through London session and see what's going on with the market direction. I would assume, since we're experiencing a sell-off, since we're kind of experiencing a sell-off, let me get these things set up here real quick, that this downtrend would probably be more likely to continue even further to the downside. And if that's the case, I mean, looking to the left here, either this level here at about 1.21053 as a new possible zone that this bottom can try to breach and then take off, if it doesn't continue to just descend even further for the next foreseeable future. But as a potential target zone, if this is a bull trap, a lot of room to the bottom for the start of next week. I would almost think since this thing really started turning around to an uptrend-ish vibe on this huge weekly time scale in September of last year, reaching a bottom, and then the same thing, new low, breaches the low, followed by uptrend. But with this, we have an uptrend, sideways range for a little while, little burst to the upside. Now we have dramatic kind of sell. So I'd be curious to see where this thing decides to land. We'll see how it does today. Just continue to let this thing. Where'd my little box go? I'm trying to look around on my microphone here. There's my box. A decent amount of dropping potential still. If this were to, in the next couple minutes, just hit that, what I would do and what I will do is close the trade and then be done, because it will probably start ranging and not get more stable till after lunch. And if that's the case, I don't want to be involved in the trade, because with sideways ranges, it's so easy to get in a shitty position and then just be stuck in it for an hour or two, just to have it take off in a direction that if you would have just waited, you could have got in a better position anyway. This trade's almost at a 4% gain. Big trade, breaking us over the $900 threshold, making a lot of progress back up from the previous days of just losing money and being emotional, making stupid emotional decisions. But I think, this new kind of strategy, I guess, of just holding it better has been a skill set that I've needed to work on for sure. In the past, the recent past, as of days ago past, I wouldn't feel comfortable holding $35 in the green. But, I've experienced so much of the opposite, where I'd be it would, without my effort and energy and attention, I would be in the whole $30 and it would continue to go. And I'd sit there and hold it, and it wouldn't just dramatically snap back or anything. And so it's it makes it easier actually now with being in profit not to have this fear of loss, of maybe it'll just disappear, because that's the frustrating part of trading, is you could be sitting at a good position, next thing you know it just disappears. But the other thing I wanted to try is see how my available to trade is now over $100 because of the P&L. I almost want to try this where I continuously buy new positions based on kind of compounding like that, because then that gives me maybe $4 or $5 of loss before this broker just liquidates my positions. Instead of like cashing out and the broker makes a commission available to trade as that goes up. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to try that right now. So now I got 43 available to trade, and now I just got another position added. Basically from money that didn't exist before this trade, which then gives available to trade $44. Next time around I can do maybe a 1500 position. And that just adds just a little bit more onto a winning trade. Since it's trending so kind of obviously, (10:30) Eastern Standard Time, in the belly of New York session here, in the heart of the action. Starting to get more momentum in the P&L. I like watching the P&L as an indicator of direction and price action. I feel like it's more real time, I guess, or a better indicator of what the market's doing. The candlesticks are awesome, but a lot of times in these little micro moves, seeing how it's flashing really shows a clearer bias in what it's doing. Jump into the chat, see what's going on with everybody. Appreciate everybody dropping in. Hopefully this stream is entertaining on some level. Let's see what I need to change that because I haven't lost anything. I need to get that there. Change that title. I don't like that negative omen. And it looks like almost like testing that, where that news event, see if that bounces and rejects. And the reason I'm kind of looking at it in that way is just because you have over here to the left that candlestick wick from the news. Looks like we are starting to reject it now. Scale out to the bigger time scale here and get rid of that. Just waiting for that shoe to drop again. I have a feeling this is going to tank the whole day. A lot of times, not every time, but when you have a more obvious trend where it's not trading sideways, a lot of times, New York at least, whatever the initial trend is, it tends to kind of stick with that. It doesn't normally dramatically change from a downtrend to an uptrend if the market conditions going into New York session were obvious. Whereas like a trend, like a sideways range, then you might have like, from pre-lunch time till whatever it was doing this, but then you can start seeing that more likely to happen. Not every time, but it's probable that it's like that. The trend I noticed, like yesterday, you had New York session basically tanking, Asian session being the opposite, and then London session starting to tank again. So it's like you had a bull trend, bear trend, or a bear trend, bull trend, bear trend, and like I don't know if that happens reliably or not. Not that I've picked up yet in my little autistic pattern recognition shit. Looks like that candlestick is kind of doing its thing at the moment. Hopefully everybody's day is going good. Hopefully everybody's week is actually even going good too. I don't really believe in competition, mainly because just in my life I just see how much really the only competition is yourself, and so I don't really, I just all got wiped, but like I look at everything as being like abundant. I think there's abundant opportunities in the market and abundant opportunities in general to start businesses, and I think scarcity mindedness is one of the root causes of suffering, needless suffering. At this point, it looks like we're getting ready to continue the downtrend. Snap back to the bigger time scale here. The wicks, especially in this candlestick, you can infer a lot of selling pressure by how you read the chart. Big wicks in either direction can indicate strong pressure. And if this thing wicks all the way down, I don't know exactly. Oh, there we are. We're like right smack dab in the middle of it with this position. But yeah, look at that. Look at that selling pressure just really wiping that wick. It's kind of an indication to me marketplace is filled with sellers, which is good. It's good to be in alignment with what the common sentiment is when you're trading. I personally don't look at others in the way of like they're my adversary. Other traders as being my adversary. There's obviously people that are adversarial though, in the sense that they are on the wrong side of the trade relative to my position. And this thing's starting to sit down like an old man again. Again, just kind of letting it run a lot more. In the past, recent past, I would have sold it here, probably took a buy, probably got confused in this indecision area, spent $6 to the broker, which is like half a percent risk. A $1,000 account, $10 is 1%. So if I'm spending $6 just in commissions, going back and forth in these higher position sizes, but instead we've been safely, in this profit zone, waiting out this trick. I believe this is starting to become more and more obvious. This is a trick. But instead, just riding it out. And that's a practice that I'm doing now. It's just feeling, I wouldn't say numb, but not being emotionally charged, whether I'm in profit or in loss. And really focusing more on just the technique, I guess, or the strategy, and just sticking with it, holding it, not being afraid to be in drawdowns. I've found over the years that things that you fear have a way of manifesting just as easily as the things that you desire, whatever you're putting strong energy and attention to. If you're constantly in drama and chaos, that's pretty much what you're going to experience. So much of this shit we do is just projecting our own inner world onto things. I would say Forex is a pretty good example of that. Projecting your own inner world onto reality that might be just indifferent and just neutral. An indifferent, neutral thing, but there's big emotional stories and shit that we can start telling ourselves about it. Creating an adversary, a they. I hear that same kind of talk in trading circles. The they, the smart money. The masters of the universe that are using gematria and the sun and moon and stars to make trades. It's the same shit I hear in like the truth community, where it's just like, well, didn't you hear about the they controlling the weather and this and that, and every aspect is this 5D chess. And it's like, I get why you think that, but I also have experienced a lot of just reality. People in high positions or people with money and shit that are just like way more incompetent than you're giving them credit for. And even like having a business, you just see how it's not easy to get shit that you would think would be simple. Like, let's see, not complaining about your life to your customers or bitching about the job. It's like I've had people work for me treat customers like a fucking therapist, and they just dump all their fucking problems onto them, and it's just like, Seriously, you think this is appropriate to talk to customers about? And there's just all these stupid little problems, you know, and it's like the idea that these people are manipulating things on such a high level. Even with like the Israel shit, you know, it's like I see all these talking heads that remind me a lot of these fucking hawks from 9/11. Lindsey Graham is, you know, is the same warmongering pig he's always been, but like, but it gets to this point where it's just like, really, we're gonna just play the same shit over and over again. We're just gonna keep falling for it, become emotional about it. But it's like, oh, Israel deserves its right to defend itself. It's like, why didn't they then? You know, when shit was actually going down, where were the people to be quote unquote defending? You know, it's like going in after the fact and just carpet bombing shit. That doesn't make any fucking sense. It's like, yeah, if there's a marauding horde of people coming in, raping and pillaging, it's like, where are the men at to fucking put a stop to that in the moment? Especially when it's like an obvious, like, there wasn't a peacetime situation going on. It's like there's always this threat of violence going on anyway. So where were the people to quote unquote defend then? Same illusions. It seems like a lot of the time it's just like, oh, you know, we'll keep you safe. Just give up all your freedom and enslave yourself to us, and we'll keep you safe. And then when actually shit goes down, oh, oopsie. Just give up more freedoms. We'll keep playing the same fucking switcheroo game. Not to say I support anybody that's like murdering other people. I think all of that is satanic. We're at almost a 4% gain on this trade, $40. I don't have a stop loss in or anything at the moment. You know, it's just free balling up. That new position is almost at I don't know, 70 cents. Our main position here, almost at $38. I'm happy to see the equity above 900. When just yesterday it was at like 8:30. You know, and you know, if you've been watching my streams or whatever, and just like watching like the updates or whatever, it's just like 4%. I think yesterday was like 10% loss, 3% loss. There's been losses, you know, most of the week. And I started the week with over $1,100, $1,200. I don't think it was 1,200. I'd have to look, but yeah, I want to stop just getting in this mindset of like, oh, I'll just add more money to it. It's like, yeah, I could, you know, but the point of what we're doing here is to multiply abundance for everybody. And part of like wanting to do these streams is, you know, other people that are new to this game. I do this like almost like a Robin Hood fantasy of like, oh, you know, let's break the matrix and like, you know, drain all this fucking money from the market so we can bring it back to our local communities and start businesses that are serving, helpful, you know, blessings for other people. One of the things I noticed just in my own town is like there's such a need that the community has for like entrepreneurs to make shit. And a lot of people misplace that as like, why doesn't the government do this? It's like, correction, why aren't you doing it? It's like, oh, there's nothing for kids to do in this town. It's like, well, why don't you put a movie theater in then? Why don't you build an arcade? Why don't you build a, I don't know, go-kart track? Yeah, it's like, you might be the one that does it. You know, I'd like to get into a position of like mastering Forex and shit to, you know, build a skateboard park in town. Or we went to this amusement center where really fun virtual, almost like roller coasters were in there. I don't know how much those things cost, but it'd be awesome to just have like an arcade / go-kart place / maybe paintball or laser tag / just, this is a fun place to just play games and shit. Get out of this slave-minded grind all the time. Almost 11 o'clock. I'm tempted to just let this play. It's on the 1 minute chart here. Our position that got into with available trade from the profits of this initial trade seems to be working out. Really killing it right now. You know, these past 2 days have really, I feel like, been a compensation from, you know, the 3 days of, I don't want to say misery or whatever, but like, you know, just failing. It's nice to be, and that's one of the things I got to not get carried away with is like, just as like emotions can start swinging, like, oh, you know, fuck this, I hate doing Forex. When you start winning, me especially, then it's like, oh, you know, it's like I'm a master at this shit, and let's just put everything on it. It's like couldn't possibly go wrong. It's like the pendulum starts swinging the other way, and so I'm trying to get into a position of being a little bit more mindful of how I'm behaving on winning trades too, so I don't continue to fall in stupid patterns that cost money. That's the nice thing about trading in general. There's really little room for the fucking excuse making, because it's like very obvious whether your strategy and what you're doing is successful. And by successful, those successes happen in the present moment, in the day. Each trade is a success or a failure. And with that, it's like, okay, well, what did you do wrong? What did you do right? How could you have done this better, etc. I'm using this bottom position as an indicator. It's at $1. You start seeing it slowly moving up. It's kind of from this scaled back version, you know, the 15-minute chart, not super tight in the candlesticks. Kind of using it as an indicator for how fast this is dropping, because this red box here, for anybody that's dipping in now, that's the target zone for, if you go on the 4-hour chart, for seeing obvious, more stable support and resistance zones. You can see this bottom here has been, these wicks especially, where this line is, the wick, boom, boom, take off, boom, take off. So it's a highly likely, you know, you got this very typical bearish, bullish bull trap, followed by another descent to the downside, and the possible bottom. It could hit that level, and where it was support, meaning it's bouncing and moving up, it could now all of a sudden turn into a resistance zone and blast straight through it, and then go back to retest it, and it continues to blast straight through it. This trade is almost 4.5% gain on the account at this moment. It'd be nice to, you know, actually wrap this stream up and put a substantial win for a change of pace from past previous videos. I don't necessarily know if people watching, I would assume probably half the people watching over time would hope that I lose money, whereas the other half of people are actually like to see big wins. I think like entertainment business wise, entertainment factor, it's kind of like publicity. It doesn't matter if they hate you or love you. It's just how much energy are you creating, how much drama, how much excitement. You know, that's, you know, doesn't really matter. I think that's one of the things that confuses a lot of like people that are nice people. It's like you look at what's going on in the social media world of the insanity and just whole lot of just the extremism. Well, a large portion of society doesn't care what's true, and they just run on emotions. and whether they vehemently hate you or vehemently love you, the energy that they're putting into it is about the same. That's one of the things I learned from just doing music, is like sometimes people will just be so filled with hate that they will do a better job promoting your shit than like a super fan, because they're literally hang on every word that you say, just waiting for something to use against you in like a Reddit on a Reddit thread. And then, but at the same time, they'll spread your content. They'll do all this stuff that benefits you. Gets people. It's like normally it would cost you to have somebody that vehemently working for you, even if it's in a negative way. They were spreading your content, spreading the shit, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh, it didn't work. Now there's even more people that are into it. You see that with like politicians and shit all the time. Jump in. This is on the 4-hour chart, just looking at this candlestick, getting mesmerized by it. I'm just watching it slowly start to test this zone. This is what I think where it's headed. For anybody that needs the numbers, my hypothesis is going to drop to 1.21053 because of those candlesticks bouncing off of that level. It seems very likely that it will at least start to either bounce or blow through. And that's another thing. I've been working more on the longer scale time shit versus 1 minute chart action. It's like 1 minute chart action is fun and gambly, but and it's a good teacher because you can learn fractally patterns. But the big movers are in the larger time scale, and it's a lot more stable. Where it's like, if I would get a 4% win on a 1 minute chart, I would expect it to be like a news thing and drop and disappear just as fast. Whereas the longer time scale trade, intraday swing trade, it's a lot more stable. You see it just over the course of 15 minutes. The P&L just click, click, click more stably. Now we're at 0.7 or 75 cents, where it was at about $1. But they were, 15 minutes prior to that, it was in the red. 15 minutes now, almost at $1. And as you watch the P&L kind of move back and forth between 60, 70, then you might see 70, 80, 70, 75. You just start catching that vibe of how the market's kind of moving and responding just based on just watching that number move. In addition to what the chart patterning is doing, I almost find just watching the P&L to be just as good of an indicator. Then you have the typical, again, new low being hit right here, and as soon as that new low, boom, bullish uptrend. And I think that's important to catch that, because so many times, like for me, for example, you get that new low, and if you're new, the knee-jerk reaction is, oh, it's going to drop to the bottom, I'm going to put a sell in. And then you do, and then you end up in a shitty position. Same thing up here. It's like, oh, we got an uptrend, uptrend, uptrend. This broke structure from these little guys. If you look at, let's zoom in. So you have kind of a micro support and resistance zone right there. A little bit of a breakout with that candlestick wick up here. Well, if you're new and it's like, oh shit, it's taking off, it's changing directions, I'm going to get a buy-in because of like feeling like missing out. So you get a buy-in right in here, thinking, oh, it's going to go up to here or go test these higher levels. Then all of a sudden, oh, a big bearish engulfing candle. Now I'm in a shitty losing position again. So it's almost contrary, because if you always just like, okay, or there's a new high, sell, well then you really only have from this point at the top to maybe the next level, like up here. So you only have from point A to point B where you're risking being right or wrong. If you just assume, oh, it's a high, I'm going to hit a sell. Especially when it's been in an obvious downtrend for a while now, most of the morning. So, you know, based on that same logic, once it crosses this level, you might get another bearish candlestick. But odds are, once that hits even further down, you know, it'll do that same pattern and try to bounce back. So instead of getting tricked by that every time, start to incorporate that a little bit more and realize how detrimental that fear of missing out can be. For me, I'm a pretty decisive person, so it's like, okay, I'm all in every single time. It's like every trade is like I'm 100% all in. It's like it's falling. There's not doubt. Even if I'm wrong, you know, it's like it's still a decisive, like this is going. But that doesn't seem that serving in the trading world. And it seems like a detriment because then it puts you in these contrary positions over and over again. And it's almost like in fishing where it's like, yeah, it's good to be decisive and take action when the time is perfect. Or not perfect, but when the time is right, then taking decisive action. But until then it's like, okay, the bobber just went underwater. I got a bite. If you just immediately rip it back and try to set the hook too fast, you might just rip it out of their mouth and lose the fish. So that's an example of where being decisive is actually not serving. And it's not serving in the trading world because of that reasoning where it's like, oh, new low, oh, I'm missing out. And it's like 9 times out of 10 it's going to bounce temporarily even to the upside. Might get a change of direction at that point, but odds are, you know, you see that same, this plays out every single time on, even on that new low. Now we're in a bull candle where a lot of like beginners or, you know, people that are unaware that it bounces like that regularly. It's like, shit, it just dropped below that break of structure, I'm missing out, put a sell in. Well, now the ninja entry is not that great. But instead of over trading, you can kind of see how this current strategy of just setting it and just letting it be seems to be a lot better, especially for the equity sake. Let's jump in the chat and see how you guys are doing. Appreciate everybody dipping in. Hopefully your trading day is going good. Looks like a couple people have liked the stream. I appreciate the support. You know, that does help the algorithm, I guess. Helps other people that are trading find this stream, you know, and really that's a benefit for everybody that likes to just vibe in my little bubble as I trade, give you a community to talk with and strategize with and kind of get in more harmony with, especially if you're new to this. I definitely would recommend, you know, it's like for the people that have like abundance, not to flex it too much on learning how to do this because it's really relative. So even like what I would recommend is get a number that is just a hair above where you don't care. And, you know, some people, they don't care at $100. Some people don't care at like 10 grand. Some people don't care even higher numbers. But the thing of it is, like, get that point where you are comfortable losing half of it and not giving a shit as you learn how this thing moves. Almost at 5% on the day here, or actually more than that on the day, but on this particular trade, almost at 5%. $11 a.m. Looks like the move from New York is this one we got in on, which is awesome. Got in on this money shop. That new position is at $1 profit now. Maybe use that as the indicator. Still, on average, you know, going down slowly. But I think I'm going to actually probably bounce for the day. This thing's, setting up nicely. I'm not going to cash it out just because I'm going to let it run until it hits that key level down there, which might be another percent, maybe 1.5%. So might end up with a $60 trade, maybe 6% for the day on this trade alone, plus the one I got earlier. So I'd have to look at the numbers and the start of the stream, but definitely a winner chicken dinner today, thank God. Hopefully that translates to you guys too if you're following along, kind of taking the same approach to putting some sells in. And hopefully we end today really fucking strong. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys liking, sharing, subscribing, all the social networking things. And until probably Saturday's strategy session, maybe Sunday, I don't know, we'll look at what the market's doing and get into maybe a little game plan for the start of the week. Talk strategy, talk biases, change direction, news, all that kind of fun stuff in the trading world. And until then, God bless and take care.